We are. Well, then please. Yeah, thank you. The laws of the Holy Temple. That's not what we want. All right, what's going on here? Oh, what do you see now? You don't see that.
Little yellow car.
Huh?
A little yellow car.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. What do you see over here? Rambam? Now you see Rambam?
Yellow car.
They see.
Yellow.
So they're seeing it. You're not. How's that?
Okay, that's fine.
Hold on there. Oh. Now tell me what you're seeing.
Yeah, we got it.
Got it. Okay. Okay, amazing.
Chapter 9.
Are you seeing it, folks? You still seeing the Rambam? Yeah, okay, amazing. Okay, we are in the laws of the Holy Temple. Appropriate time now, as we are during the 9 days, we want to rebuild it. We rebuild it about learning about it. So Klei HaMikdash, we're in the laws of the utensils and things that were used in the Holy Temple. So how was the forehead plate made? It's called a tzitz. It was worn by the high priest over here. Gold plate is, we see, is a plate of gold, 2 finger breadths, right? Wide, and extends over the forehead of the high priest, the Kohen Gadol, from ear to ear. As it's written on it rather, Kodesh LaHashem, in 2 lines. Kodesh means holy, and on the lower line, LaHashem, to God. Right? Sorry, on the lower line is Kodesh, and LaHashem on the higher line. If the words were written on one line, it is valid. There were times when they were written on one line. Okay. The letters would project outward. How was this done? The craftsman would engrave the letters on the back of the plate while it was pressed to beeswax until they project, right? It had holes on each of its ends. There were a strand of a sky blue wool below it that ran from hole to hole so that it would be tied from the strand of the nape of the neck. So it went like this, right? Actually, I have the pictures here. This is it. It's a bit small. You see it, yeah? And you see the strands over here on the 2 sides. That's what we spoke about, right? They would tie it behind the back of the neck. Halacha number 3. The cloak. Oh, so it's interesting. There's a 3rd strand that was in the middle that went over top, but he doesn't mention it. Very strange. Now we're going to the me'il.
What do they call it again? What is it called? What is it called? A head?
Tzitz. What it was called? It was called tzitz. That's what it was called in Hebrew, right? Okay, the cloak, the me'il. It was made entirely of a sky blue colored wool. Its strands were 12-fold. Like the strands were, right, as it was made, was 12-fold. Its opening was woven, and that its weave, and that is where the weave began. It did not have an opening for its arms. Instead, it was divided into 2 flaps from below the throat downward, like all cloaks. It joined only directly below the throat. One who tears the border of the opening of the cloak is liable for lashes. It says it shall not be torn. This applies to all priestly garments. One who tears them with a destructive intent is liable for lashes. Okay. So that's the me'il. Here we have it over here. Picture of it. Okay. He should then bring sky blue wool, red wool, and scarlet wool, the strands of each of these spun eightfold. This is necessary because the verse says, and the pomegranates and the cloak's hem should be made of strands that are twisted. Thus, there are 24 threads used for the hem of the cloak. So here, underneath, here's the hem, right? And then on the hem of the cloak or the robe, right? This is the robe, right? We're talking about. They should be fashioned into shapes resembling pomegranates whose mouths are not open and hung from the cloak. He brings 24 cups and 24 clappers that are made entirely of gold and suspended from the hems, 36 of the hem on one flap and 36 hem on the other flap. So you had over here something like looked like pomegranates on the bottom, interrupted by something that looked like a bell at the bottom of the robe that had on a what was it called? What was the term they used over here? Hem, right? At the hem. This is at the bottom, right? The cup with the clapper hanging in it together with a bell, called a bell. So it had a clap, so it made noise. From the hems on both sides of flaps of the cloak are suspended series of bells and pomegranates, bells and pomegranates. One, 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 right? When the Kohen would go into the holies, right, then it would make noise when he enters because of the bells that are on the bottom, okay? The gold that was woven on the ephod. Okay, so this was the robe, the cloak that we just spoke about, me'il in Hebrew. And now we're talking about the ephod. That was more like an apron. It's more like an apron. An apron that was closed on the backside and open a bit on the front. Okay, but apron looking type, right? That was the ephod. And the breastplate I mentioned in the Torah was made of the following manner. So you can see over here, this is the ephod. Connected to the ephod is the breastplate, right? This is what the Kohen Gadol is wearing. See that? So a pure strand of gold was taken and placed together with 6 strands of sky blue wool, and then the 7 strands were spun as one. Imagine what kind of work that was to spin it, right? And then this is how they made the garment, right? He would do the same with 1 strand of gold and 6 red wool and 1 strand of gold and 6 of scarlet and 1 strand of gold and 6 of linen, right? So each one had this 1 strand of gold in it. Thus, there would be 24 strands of gold. 4 strands of gold, and there would be a total of 28 strands. Because you did it with 4 different materials, right? Different colored wool, and then then you sewed it together. This is reflected as in the verse, and they hammered out thin sheets of gold and cut strands to fashion the sky blue wool, and then red wool and scarlet wool and linen. This teaches that each strand of gold woven in them. Okay, that's how they made it. Got it? Now we have the breastplate. How was it made? Would weave a garment that was a work of craft from gold, skylight blue, red wool, scarlet, and linen with 28 strands, the same as before. As we explained, it was a cubit long. This is a cubit, and a zeret wide, the thickness, I think, and it should be folded into two. Thus, it was a square, a zeret long, and a zeret wide. The zeret is half a cubit. So it was one, right? But when you folded it, so now it was 1 by 2. No, so it was 1 by 2. When you folded it, it became 1 by 1. And should be affixed 4 rows of stones. So here it is. And you see it's folded. And here's on the breastplate. So this is half a cubit. So it's about it's about 9. The cubit is about 18 inches. So it's 9 by 9 approximately, right? And upon it was the 12 stones for the 12 tribes of Israel, right? That's what he says now. 4 rows of stones as described in the Torah. Each stone should be a square and set in a setting of gold that encompasses it from below and from 4 directions. Meaning, I don't know what he means by encompassing over here. Oh, the setting encompasses it in the 4 directions. Others, it's set into the hole that's made in the breastplate. Right? The stone is completely set in it, right?
So it's got 4 rows and what, 3 columns?
A 3 column, yeah. 4 rows down, 3 across.
And it's a perfect square.
And it's a perfect square.
So that means each of those is not a square. It must be a rectangle.
Yeah. Yes. So it seems to, yeah. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. He should engrave on the stones the names of the tribes according to the order of birth. Thus on the ruby, the name Reuven is engraved, and on the jasper, Benjamin is engraved. Which is the last one. Benjamin is the youngest, from oldest to youngest, right? At the outset, above Reuven, he should write the names of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and below Benjamin, he should write Shiftei Yudke, meaning the tribes of God, so that all the letters are found there.
Oh, hold on. So you have. But there's 12 stones, right?
12 stones. Above it, you're going to write the names of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and right, and below it,
Yeah. You
should write, yeah, below Benjamin, which is, yeah, on the bottom, should write tribes of God. That way, all the 24 letters are there. That's what it's saying. Okay, golden rings are made its corners.
In those 2 sayings, all 24.
No, I think it means with the names of the tribes too. I think. Because Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Well, we'd have to go through the Aleph base. Gimel is not there, so it's in the tribes. God is the Gimel, because there's no Gimel on Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, or Shiftei Yudke. No, it's Shiftei Yud and a Hey. No Gimel. So it's including the tribes. Okay. Now there were 4 rings at the corners 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And it was held up. Here you can see the straps of the ephod, of that apron looking thing. This was the apron looking thing, right? That held it secure. Okay, so 4 golden rings that are made on the 4 corners of the breastplate. And the upper 2 rings from which the breastplate is suspended, 2 golden cords are placed. They are called chains. The 2 lower rings that are opposite the high priest's breast are placed 2 cords of sky blue wool. Okay. The width of the
You
ephod.
know if that's the same, is that the same dye they would use for, as we have it?
The tchelis, no, I don't think so. Actually, you know what? I shouldn't say that.
I mean.
I don't think so, but I might be wrong.
Okay.
I have to look. Good question. Good question. The width of the ephod is the width of the person's back from shoulder to shoulder. Its length extends one's elbows to his feet. His elbows over here, so you can see it goes down here, and it's the width of his shoulder to shoulder. And it had 2 bands extending from either side with which it is fastened. It's called the belt of the ephod, like I showed you over here. I did. It was fastened. The entire garment is woven from gold, sky blue wool, red wool, scarlet wool, and linen, and 28 threads as described with regard to the breastplate. Right, same idea. Should sew it to the shoulder strap so that it will extend the high priest's shoulder. He should have fixed to each strap a square sardonyx stone set in the setting of gold. So over here you can see on the strap that there's a setting over there, and there was on both of them there was a stone. The names of the tribe should be engraved on the 2 stones, 6 on one stone and 6 on the other. According to the order of birth, Joseph's name would be written as Yosef. Interesting. Thus, it would be 25 letters on one stone, 25 letters on the other stone. Aha, because you spelled Yosef. Usually you don't put a hey in Yosef, but here there's a hey. And they should be written in this manner. The stone on which Reuven's name was written was placed on the right shoulder, and the stone on which Shimon's name was written was placed on the left shoulder. So it went across like this. Reuven is the firstborn, Shimon is the secondborn. So it went across. Right? On each shoulder, he should make 2 rings, one above, on top of the shoulder, and one below the shoulder, above the belt. 2 golden cords should be placed, 2 upper rings. They are called chains. So here you see the stones over here, and then there's chains that are connecting it to the rings of the breastplate. Halacha number 10. Afterwards, he places the ends of the cords of the base of the upper rings that we just showed you, and they are on the shoulders of the ephod. And he should place the 2 strands of sky blue wool that are on the hem of the breastplate into the rings that are above the belt of the ephod. The chains and the rings on the shoulders. So you have the rings over here and rings below over here. The descendants have reached the upper rings of the breastplate so that they will cleave to each other, and thus the breastplate will not separate from the ephod. Anyone who separates the breastplate from the ephod and disrupts their connection and destructive intent is worthy of lashes. Thus, when one wears the ephod together with the breastplate will be flat over his heart, and the ephod will be behind him. The belt of the ephod is tied over his heart, below the breastplate. The 2 shoulders of the ephod lie on his 2 shoulders, and the 2 cords of the gold extend down from the shoulders on either side of from the shoulders of the ephod and the rings of the breastplate. The 2 strands of the sky blue wool are tied below the elbows from 2 lower rings of the breastplate to the 2 lower rings of the shoulders of the ephod, are which are above the belt. So it's just describing this over here that we have over here and then below over here. All right. What is the order? Chapter number 10, we'll do the first halacha. What's the order of the priestly garments? The priest should put on his leggings first, tying them above his navel, over his loins. Afterwards, he puts on the tunic, and then he puts on the sash. Right, this is the tunic, right? But he first puts on the leggings, then he puts on his tunic, and then his sash at the elbow height. I should wind the fold after fold until it ends and then tie it. Okay, I'm going to stop over here. All right, folks. God bless you all.
Thank you, Rabbi Fine.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you. Have a great